It's time to talk about the end of the year. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is the end of year book tag. Before we jump into the tag, make sure to check in the description box down below for links to my Discord and social media should you want to come along for the ride. Now, I will be completely honest, I do not know who created this tag originally. I will try and find the original creator to make sure the video is in that comment box. If I haven't been able to find them and you know who it is, please let me know so I can edit the comments or the description box and put their link down below. I've seen this one around since basically the start of October, and I recently caught it on Roger's channel, and his video will also be linked down below. This one is nice and simple. We only have 6 questions to get to, and I've had to tweak a couple of them just because they aren't super relevant to myself and my reading habits, but we'll get there when we get there. Starting off with question 1, are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? Now, I'm going to edit this question a little bit and just talk about books that I want to finish before the end of the year, or maybe some obligation reads. They're still very enjoyable to read, but they are arcs that I have agreed to read, and I do need to get them under my belt before the end of 2022. So, I'm not a DNFer, which is why this question really doesn't work for me. If I DNF a book, it is because I really did not like it and it didn't work for me. Normally I will power through to try and get a whole picture, so that way when I do a review it is fair for the author. The only thing that I've DNF'd in the last couple of years that I can think of off the top of my head was a Chuck Wendig book about a haunted house, and I can't even remember what it was. So when I said I could remember it, I lied to you, but it was a Chuck Wendig book, and it just did not work for me. I got about halfway through and I was like, nah. And that is the only thing that I can think of most recently. So the books that I do have to read before the end of the year and that I need to read before the end of the year are Heliotrope. This is by Palmer Pickering. This is an epic sword and sorcery fantasy that is coming out at the end of November. The other thing I do have to read is No Heart for a Thief. This is by James Derlin. I've recently been approved for the ARC. This is coming out in 2023, and I'm hoping to get my hands on it in the next couple of weeks and get that review out before the end of the year. And the last one I have that I do need to read is The Price of Power, and this is by Michael Michel, who I've been working with on this book in terms of beta reading it and advice for the last year or so. So I'm really excited to read the final product and get that review out into the world. The second question is, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? Now, you over the other side of the world are getting colder and it's very fally. Here it's hot as hell and it's becoming very warm, so I don't have an autumnal book to transition into the season, but I do have a book that reminded me of summer. I read that recently. That is The Trials of Ashmount by John Palladino. This has a volcano in it, which is hot, like Australia, and that is my summonal book to bring in the new hot season. I will give a shout out to probably the most autumnal cover of this year, and that is A Touch of Light by Tiago Abdala. Look at that beautiful reddish orange on the top. If that doesn't scream fall to you, I don't know what does. Question number 3, is there a new release you're still waiting for? And not traditionally published. There are a couple that I'm not waiting for, but I'm excited for in the indie world, and that would be Dream of Death City, which I have recently read, so I'm technically not waiting for it, but the rest of the world is coming out. By the time you watch this video, tomorrow, it comes out on the 19th of November, so depending on when this one comes out. In terms of trad publishing, there is a book by Emery Robin, I think the name is, and it's called The Stars Undying. This is a Cleopatra and Julius Caesar retelling in space, and that sounds awesome, and I'm really looking forward to getting to this one. So I think it is out in other parts of the world, but in terms of the paperback in Australia, that is not available until March 2023, but I can buy the Kindle around this time, so I am waiting to read that as a new release. Question 4, what are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? I have a buddy read happening at the moment of The Book of Words by J.V. Jones, so 2 of those books are going to be Baker's Boy and also A Man Betrayed by J.V. Jones. I need to get these under my belt before the end of 2023. And another one I do want to read before the end of the year, because I'm reading it with a friend of mine, Roger, who I mentioned earlier, is A Taste of Gold and Iron. This is by Alexandra Rowland, and I don't know whether I'm going to be able to fit it into November, but I am going to try my darndest to get it under my belt. So those are 3 that I do definitely want to read before the end of the year. Question 5, is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year? Absolutely. Never say that there's not a book that can stand out to me. I've been surprised in the recent months, thinking that I've read all the most excellent books that I would have come across in 2022, and Dream of Death City that I mentioned earlier really shocked me in terms of what it brought to the table for conversations within dark fantasy, and that has left a lasting impression and pretty high up on my list of books this year. But I've got 3 arcs happening, and one of those could take the top spot. I don't know. And the last question is, have you already started making the last question is, have you already started making reading plans for next year? Yeah. In fact, after I film this video, I have a few videos about my reading plans for 2023. I, if you don't know by now, am a planner. When I sat down to look at my November at a glance, I actually did November, December, and January. Things in my life are changing within December and January, so I wanted to make sure that I'd pre-planned all that out, and I've got a few TBRs, or at least a whole lot of buddy reads happening next year. 2023 for me is the year of the buddy read, and I can say 3 off the top of my head. The first one is the J.B. Jones Book of Words. That's happening end of this year, beginning of next year. I also have the Dragonlance Chronicles, the original trilogy, so the Dragons of Autumn's Twilight and the next 2 after that. That's starting in February, and also in January I have the Cycle of Fire by Jenny Wirtz starting. So yes, I have a few planned. I could go on, but I won't, because you'll all be bored and won't want to come back. That was it. That was the end of year book tag. I think I'm a little bit late to the party on this end of year book tag. People seem to get it in nice and early, maybe because they have better answers to the questions than I did. Anyway, let me know your answers to these questions down below. Is there anything that I'm picking up that you're interested in too? Let me know. If you like the content, give it one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will. I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.